Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. Today I have my buddy Jason, who is also the front man and leader of his tribute band, the greatest Bon Jovi tribute band, Slippery When Wet. How's it going, buddy?
Good man. How are you?
Good, good, good. Man, we are gonna fanboy pretty hard today. This is like you're hardcore when you talk about stuff like this. We are gonna you actually brought up this idea, so I'm gonna let you talk about what we're gonna do.
So yeah, in doing the show, we've always had fans and whatnot come up and request these rarities and whatever songs and that. And then I said to you, hey, I'm pretty well versed in the catalog as I know you are. And what if we did something to where we went through the catalog and picked a single that was never released as a single in the States, and this should have been a single and or a very strong song from the record, but that
Yeah,
was the basis of whatever, and here we are. So
absolutely. And I want to say one thing before we start here. One of the greatest things about Jason's band Super and White is they play some deep cuts, whether it's on the album or you've done even outtakes like Edge of a Broken Heart off of
yep.
Slippery.
Yeah,
So that's like one of the great things about your band that I love seeing is being able to see deep cuts that, unfortunately the band Bon Jovi doesn't even do live. So
thank
that's
you.
kind
Yeah,
of yeah.
you know in the beginning when I first put this together, it was literally it was the bounce tour, and I would literally look, if we're going back, you weren't able to find things so quickly on your phone and this and that, but you had to do a little bit of research. But they would post all the set lists, and man, I would go down it like it was like a science, and then years later I was like, you know what, we really should be playing some stuff that they don't play.
Yeah.
We You Don't Know Me often, and I mean that band will never play that song.
No, it, it's a shame because there's so many good songs on debut and 7800, that John won't ever touch because he doesn't like them. But I mean, those albums in the diehard fan bases, people love those songs,
It's a lot.
especially on,
Well, those first four records, I mean, meant a lot to them and got played a billion times, and
yeah,
so those songs, at a young age, were ingrained into these people's being. So yeah.
exactly. And for those that want to kind of learn more about Jason and, the start of his tribute band and all that, um, I think it was about a year ago we did. I forget which number episode it was, but it's all on my platform. So you guys want to check the episode. It's actually pretty cool. But let's get started. So you
Okay.
started this idea, so I'm gonna let you. We're gonna go from.
So
We
yeah, you
haven't
go
really made any roles here,
right.
And like I said, we're kind of fanboying here,
Yeah.
but
So
we
you go with the OG. So
okay.
Bon Jovi record, 1984. So
Yep.
while Runaway, it was released before that or whatever in 83, the physical release came out in 1984. The two singles of it being Runaway, She Don't Know.
Right.
Do you want to go with what you thought was a strong song and could have been a single?
You started the game here, so I'll let you pick yours. We'll take turns going
So
first.
my choice would be Roulette. Roulette's a strong song, and we haven't got around to playing it yet, but it's just a cool, rock tune, and I mean, I thought radio would have, maybe adapted that and played it.
Yeah. I think you guys would be awesome with playing that. And I picked the same song. I
There we go.
it's it and I guess before we continue here, when I was picking these songs, I was also thinking that they're also my favorites too. That I know some of these choices I might make aren't really suitable for radio at the time, but hey, this is for fun.
Sure.
But yeah, I picked Roulette because I think at that time it really fit with what was going on radio. And I also just love the song lyrically. It's that young boy in love and taking a
Sure.
chance, that open, bet on black comes the red crimes of passion rule my head. I need you, you want him dressed to kill. We're living in,
There you go.
it's such a great opening line, and that's what just pulls you into the song. And the way that it's musically and vocally, I think it would have been, I would have picked that one over She Don't Know Me. You know, I would like to know the full story behind She Don't Know Me, just because that's the only Bon Jovi song that wasn't written by John.
Yeah,
You know
outside
what I
right.
mean?
And
So I don't know if there was a
I think the driving force of him also not wanting to play it, all these years later,
yeah, that's true. I wonder was there kind of a push from the record company to put that song on there and then do it
Sure.
as a
I would imagine.
single?
I would
I mean,
imagine.
it's a good song, but like the music video, that's probably like the most cheesiest video I've ever seen in
But
the
that was the times. You had to have
yeah,
a plot that went through, and yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so I would have picked roulette. So
Right.
so next one I'll introduce 7800. So the
95. Yeah,
yep. So the only singles were In and Out of Love, Only Lonely, and Silent Night.
correct.
So I picked Price of Love. I think you're kind of going back to roulette, just really, I think like Richie's guitar on it specifically was really good. Just one of those fun songs that was around in the 80s. That's my pick.
Gotcha. And so, John calls 7800, the record to slit your wrist to, you know what I mean? A lot of the songs on there were just, you could tell that they were in a weird place or whatever. And, but my pick, and even though it might have been not been completely radio friendly, because I love to do it live, is Tokyo Road.
Oh man. You know what? That's a good choice. That's a good choice. And to be
Fun
honest
little
with you,
song, you know?
I'm surprised they never picked that as a single, to be
Yeah.
honest. Especially with because like with Japan was like the first country to really love the band. I'm surprised that wasn't the same. I should have thought about that one.
I mean, you
That's a
got that
good pick.
down in the middle. They would have had to edit that up a bit because, yeah, radio is not going to go for that whole whatever. But,
Yeah.
we do a little edit of it as well. So
Yeah. When I was a kid, that intro always freaked me out,
yeah,
you know, because the way that, it's so soft, that
sure.
what she's in Sakura or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is in Japanese and that or whatever, but
Yeah. Somebody told me on Twitter one time and I forgot, but and
well,
then all of a sudden the music
we
comes
play it
in.
live, so we have that sampled. You know what I mean? And so then, but we come in and hit it with that opening chord, and it's just
Yeah.
the difference between the two is just huge. It's just it blasts out of the speakers. So yeah.
Yeah. You said you make an edit of it on at your shows.
That whole spoken, thing, it really wouldn't jive, live,
Yeah.
So yeah, God, we probably cut, 2/3 of that little part there and just shorten it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but I am surprised I didn't make it at least a single in Japan just to kind of show their appreciation.
Yeah.
Although in 2001 they did put out that special Tokyo Road CD and Tokyo, that was kind of a nod to their appreciation, I
Sure.
guess.
Sure.
All right, your next one, Slippery and Wet.
So this leads to Slippery When Wet, 1986. So if we're going to be technical here, there was only 3 singles off this record. You Give Love a Bad Name, Living on Prayer, Wanted Dead or Alive. Now, Never Say Goodbye was in the chamber, video shot, the whole whatever. John's voice went out. They decided not to tour anymore, and that was it. Now, the plans for this record were supposed to be like Hysteria and have 6 singles. So you were supposed to get Never Say Goodbye. You were supposed to get I Die For You. You were supposed to get Wild in the Streets. And yeah, that's it. But my choice, if we're not including Never Say Goodbye, it's the choice because it's the ballad and the whatever. But
Yeah.
I like to have a little more fun. And for me, it's Wild in the Streets.
Okay. And I think that was the one that the video was shot, they put it out, but they didn't do a physical
Right.
release of
Remember,
it.
they had a video cassettes back then or whatever that had the Wild in the Streets video and it had Never Say Goodbye video.
Yeah. Yeah. But
And it's strange to think, Slippery sold, a billion records or whatever. And that, had they done that full, of what the record was supposed to be in that with doing a whole other dates and all that or whatever. I mean, to me, it'd been crazy, like riding down the road today or whatever and turning on the 80 station and hearing Wild in the Streets like blast through or whatever. And people knowing it is a single.
yeah. Yeah, that's it. I always thought Wild in the Streets is one of the best songs on Slippery.
Love to play
People,
it live. It's just got a fun vibe.
yeah,
And
absolutely. And people will kill me when I say this. I love the entire album. I love all the songs. I would pick Wild in the Streets over Prayer, Bad Name, Wanted.
well, those have been, overplayed and whatever.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
But if I don't do those songs, Jerry, I don't get paid. So
Exactly. All right. So I bent the rules a little bit. I picked two, and you'll see why in just a second. So I always say the woulda, coulda, shoulda song that should have been on the album. Now, it's gonna be Edge of a Broken Heart. Now, I know it was put in disorderly soundtrack and movie, but wasn't really promoted. If the band had put it on Slippery and put it on radio, I think it would have been as massive as
yeah,
Prayer and Bad Name, and I think it would have been like the probably the fourth biggest single on the album.
I think.
And I think it's the one that got away, you know.
And let me ask you this question: if we were going to play this game, let's say the record company still wanted to keep it at 10 songs. What song would you lose off of Slippery to put Edge of a Broken Heart on?
Oh man. All right. Every song is good. I would take off Social Disease though. It's a good song. I
You
love
would,
it, but
you would be
take
right.
it. You'd pick the same. Yeah. Every other song just fits perfectly on there. Social Disease, you're like, if the band put that out there now, like if any band put that out now, people would be like, what the fuck? But for the 80s, it was especially that intro, was fitting at the time. But yeah, I would have replaced Social with Edge. And I was actually thinking about this morning just so I can get kind of prepared for our episode today. I'm surprised that there's only 10 songs on that album, because there was 9 on debut. Was there 10 on 700? Yeah. So I guess that was, New Jersey was the first album that had full 12 tracks.
You have to think too. So the time span in between those is 84, 85, 86. So you only got a year apart with all the touring that they did. So they're cranking these out.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I would have picked Edge of a Broken Heart, and just a little bit of a praise to you. I remember, so this is a fan favorite, and everybody loves Edge of a Broken Heart. And I remember on the Bon Jovi cruise, you guys played a few shows on the cruise, and I remember you guys did an outdoor show. I don't think you did it the first night, but the second night you did an outdoor show. And I remember you guys started the opening riff of Edge of a Broken, and the whole fucking crowd just
Sure.
flipped. And I think there's YouTube footage of you guys performing, and it's awesome. So, like I said
Yeah.
earlier, it's kind of cool to
Well, that
see.
was when we got booked on that, we were salivating over the fact that God, we could do a whole rarity set, and these people would like eat it up.
Yeah,
Where if we did this in Tulsa or whatever, we'd get booed off the stage. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
so
yeah.
you know
Yeah,
that was a cool moment. To be able to
yeah,
play, have that interaction of to them that's just as big as living on a prayer. Do you know what I mean?
exactly. Like the diehards like you and me and so many others, I would be just fine if the Bon Jovi came up on stage and did all rarities and outtakes and. But
Yeah.
like you said, your band or Bon Jovi or what have you, people, the general population, they want the hits and just the hits, and that's it. Um, so and then okay, so I picked Edge for I know that's an outtake, so if on the album I had to pick one, it would be Let It Rock. Now I know that's too big for fuck the radio idea, but that would have been it's a great album, probably one of the best album openers of all time, especially in the band's career. And it's just a fun party rock song.
Production on that song is just amazing. All the big vocals, Bruce Fairbairn,
Yeah.
just that record is perfect.
And I think it would have been a crime if they did put it as a single on radio and cut out the David's Pink Flamingo intro,
Sure,
because that's like one of the fun parts of the
sure.
song. It's like the Lay Your Hands on Me radio edit that
Yeah.
they put on the 2010 greatest hits. You can't do it. It's a crime, you know. All right, I'll let you. I'll do. I guess I'll do New Jersey.
So 88.
88. So lay your hands on me, bad medicine, born to be my baby, living in sin, and I'll be there for you. And then Blood on Blood got a video. This was a hard one because I was kind of going back and forth on two, but
Right.
I picked Wild as the Wind. Um,
Great song.
I just did a podcast episode, actually the previous episode, and we talked about Wild as a Wind, and it was so different than what any other band was doing. Most bands were, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This one was more of like a love ballad, and like for me, I thought the song was about a self-reflection of I wish I could be better for you, but I'm not, and stuff like that. But yeah, I would have picked Wild as the Wind. I think it's just musically, I love the buildup of the song. it's one of those perfect roller coaster of emotions. It starts, that guitar intro from Richie, John at a low register, and then all of a sudden it starts to, I couldn't be the one to make your dreams come true. Then it goes into the chorus, back down, back, just has such a great flow to the song. And
That's
it
a great
that's
song.
another fan favorite.
Yeah, we played that a few times. But yeah, it's a great song. Great song.
Yeah. And you probably always get like a good reaction from like fans excited about seeing that song live.
Yeah, I mean, any of the album track stuff that you do from either Slippery or New Jersey
Yeah.
always gets, a fair reaction because, so many people, they, have those records, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Probably get away with it more than if like you like played Fear off We Keep the Faith.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So that's good, that people still, really like that. All right. So what's your pick?
So you mentioned that they did a video for it or whatever, but it wasn't a full single. To me, "Blood on Blood" is one of my favorite Bon Jovi songs, and to me, it was again like what you were saying. I think "Wanted" opened the doors to them to adding in so much more of the acoustic stuff and the feel to that, and so there's so much more of that on this record. And "Blood on Blood" to me is literally, it's John's first foray into showing you his Jersey roots and his Springsteen esque, what he, is definitely, ventured towards all these years later in that. But no, I just think it's a really strong song. We love playing it live. I mean, yeah, it's good stuff.
You do it as a show opener?
We just did for New Year's Eve. So yeah,
Awesome.
we even added in, God, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the video that they did, Access All Areas? Do you remember that?
Absolutely. Yes, I do know
So
that.
the moment there where they're in Guatemala there, where all it's gone to shit and whatever and that. Was it Guatemala? I think so.
Yeah, the last two
Nine
shows of the
doing
tour.
shows in one day and it was all the mess or whatever. But they did a breakdown there of in "Blood on Blood" there, where Dave's just kind of playing piano and John's kind of saying, hey, and all this or whatever. We have worked that in now or whatever, and we have one that kind of
Awesome.
into a bit of us, us doing this for so many years and this and that or whatever. And yeah, so it's cool. It's cool.
Dude, you got a video of that? You got to show me that.
We've only done it a few times in that, and
Oh,
but
do
yeah,
it again and record it.
sure, yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, Blood on Blood is a great choice. And you know what? I think if that would have been the sixth single if they did put out a single. The thing that sucks is like you have, like big out like Slippery New Jersey, but with any album, any band, the first two singles are like the biggest singles. Then
Sure.
the third single, people kind of get tired of it because people have already heard the song, and you know the first two songs are big because they're singles and the album hasn't come out yet. Or
Well,
um,
Jersey was their chance now, so because they had to cut all that, short with Slippery. They did got 300 and some odd dates on that tour. I mean, Doc worked those guys to death,
oh,
and
I
it
know.
broke the band up. But to do that, you had all these singles that carried through, and every one of those is a top 10 single.
Right. And maybe I'm making this up in my head, but before Sons of Beaches and before New Jersey, those titles were played with. Wasn't Blood on Blood like one of the earlier working titles of the album?
Really, I'm not sure about that. I definitely had heard the Sons of Beaches, and I even, it was even looked at as that it could have been a double record, and
I
so
know. And it's crazy that it was. I mean, obviously, the 2014 box set that we got, was really cool because we got a lot of those. But a lot of the outtakes from that album, on a side note here, songs like Now and Forever, Does Anybody Fall in Love, House of Fire, which went to Alice Cooper. Like some of those songs would have been really cool to have on the album.
I just don't know in a business wise move if that would have been the smartest, to go out there, right after Slippery or whatever, and kind of lay all that out there. And evidently the label thought the same
Yeah.
thing. Hey,
Well, it's the same thing of not putting out the live album of the New Jersey tour that they were going to plan on doing, and then they record company said no. But then Guns N' Roses puts out Use Your Illusion, So was that Guns N' Roses live album, Use Your Illusion?
no, but they did. It is a double record with one and two in that. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. So all right, I think it's your turn on the next one.
So we got Keep the Faith. So now we jump 4 years. John did his, Blaze of Glory, Young Guns 2 in between that or whatever. So Keep the Faith. So they went all in on Keep the Faith. Cut the hair, change the image, and do whatever. But your singles, Keep the Faith, Bed of Roses, In These Arms, Sleeping I'm Dead, I Believe. Now, some people might say the Dry County was a song, or a single and this and that, but ain't nobody on radio playing a damn whatever 10, 11 minute song.
I know, and that radio edit's kind of terrible as
Yeah.
well.
So we
They
won't.
put out.
But for Keep the Faith record, still a good record. They changed to adapt to more of the times, and all their contemporaries all fell by the wayside. But them Keep the Faith became much more of the ground that they'd laid on an international level, stepped them up another notch or whatever. And so the song I picked is "I Want You." I think it's a great song. I think it's, it literally could have been, another big ballad for them or whatever. But that's what I went
Yeah. I want you. So that's my pick as well. I want you. So my top five songs of all time, I want you is in there. It is one of my, I think it's one of the most incredible ballads that they have ever written. The music, the
with.
vocals,
Yeah,
you know,
it sounds amazing on it. Yeah,
yeah, and me, ballads are my favorite type of Bon Jovi song. I love the ballads. If I can see the band's point of view and the radio, whatever, with having In These Arms already out there, Bed of Roses. But I mean, like even as the fan base, I don't think I Want You gets praised enough as it should. I
not
think,
it's a forgotten track. You know what I mean?
yeah. Have
Bunch of
you
songs
ever?
the faith too, and so and the fact that it's on that latter half of it, I think it just gets a little lost. Yeah,
Yeah. Have you guys ever played that live? I
we
Want You
have, we haven't. Yeah,
at your 2025 to-do list.
but we haven't got to that one.
Yeah, that's so if I have to pick a different one because you stole mine, uh I would pick Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll. I think now again, if we're talking in the substance of radio, it probably wouldn't have worked at the time because of the whole grunge era thing, so like the whole I love rock and roll mood attitude, it wouldn't have gone far. But I think, as far as like a diehard fan, it's like how we feel as fans, Blame It on the Love. The first time I heard the music, I thought it was my own. That whole verse.
You remember MTV did that special before the record came out of them in the round and playing
Yeah.
whatever, and that was one of the songs that they played on there. It just sounded great on there. Yeah. I mean,
And it's weird that John never the band. I think they did it twice on the Keep the Faith, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead tour. I think they did it twice, and there's raw audio of it some I think on YouTube, and I think that would have been a great show opener, you know. But then again, you have to play a song that's well known because you're playing to the general population, you know.
yep.
But you'd have Jerry and Jason somewhere in the crowd excited to see it. So, all right. Next one is These Days. So Hey God,
Five, yeah.
Something for the Pain. This Ain't a Love Song. These Days, Lie to Me. Is there? I think that's it, right? Just those first
Again,
five.
Hey God is one of those ones that if you want to call it of them doing a whatever in that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I think that was just a UK single, to be
yeah,
honest. But like the actual singles were This Ain't a Love Song, Something for the Pain,
lie to me.
and then Lie to Me. Yeah. These Days and Hey God was kind of international towards the end. But so for me, obviously I've always said that the 90s Bon Jovi was the peak of the band, lyrically, musically, vocally. These Days is peak of the peak. I think it's just the top of their career. So this one was a hard one, but honestly, my favorite on here, Hearts Breaking Even. I think it is one of the, kind of like along with I Want You, one of the most special, greatest ballads that they've ever written, especially vocally. The way that John sings it in the chorus, the lied, cried, and died lines. It just makes you really feel the song. And I don't, yeah, I'll leave it at that because I can go down a whole rabbit hole talking about this song. What's your pick?
Well, and that record, these days it just did okay over here. Whereas again, Keep the Faith laid the groundwork or whatever, but internationally these days is much bigger than it was, over here. If you remember, they headlined Wembley Stadium with Van Halen opening for this record. You know what I mean? It's insane, and
That's
so
unheard of.
my pick, I went with Diamond Ring. You might not have necessarily heard it on the radio and this and that, but it's such a great song or
Yeah.
whatever. And I love that moment too, where John and Richie on the mic, and just doing that together or whatever. I mean, yeah, sells it to me, and so I think it's a great song.
What do you think of the New Jersey demo of Diamond Ring?
I mean, yeah, it's good, but it's not all there. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. But it's so musically like the New Jersey demo, has more guitar, it has more electric guitar, and you're looking at two different dynamics of the song. The New Jersey demo was electric guitar and drums, and had a little groovier sound. The Diamond Ring was just basically John and Richie and two guitars, and like that's one part that I did like about the song live of Diamond Ring was seeing John and Richie sharing the microphone, singing that song. Especially on the Lost Highway tour, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, so
so
that's a good pick. I always thought that Diamond Ring was kind of the odd duck of the album. It just doesn't fit with the theme, and because like the album's about being lost in a tunnel and trying to find optimism, trying to find hope together. And then there's also heartbreak songs like "It's Hard Letting You Go," "Hearts Breaking Evil," even.
well, I
Then
think
you
at that time they were still trying to. Who are we? You know what I mean? And so
yeah.
the record kind of goes in some different directions. But yeah,
Yeah, and just like you mentioned earlier, how American radio in the '90s just sucked because it was all about
well,
what was
especially the rock.
yeah, because like there were so many good bands that that were from the '80s that were still producing. Like I'll say like early '90s, Firehouse, Warrant, even Skid Row. Could have been bigger, but they kind of came in at the time where that '80s hair band stuff was fading out.
Yeah, I always felt there was room for all of it. You know what I mean? I don't know why it had to be a shift to whatever and this and that. And some of those bands still put out great records, through the mid '90s and
Yeah.
late '80s and that. But yeah, it's the ebb and flow of the music industry and that. And
It,
you know,
it, it's terrible, but like so like '95 was just a weird time for American radio because it was like John jokes, "Don't bore us, get to the chorus." But it was grunge was kind of still there, but it was also starting to fade out. Then you were getting like the boy bands and the pretty girls singing, and that was what was popular. And so people overseas were kind of like, "Fuck that," let's keep to our rock and roll, and thankfully kept our band alive, and got these days to number one. It sucks because it's truly one of the band's greatest work, and it wasn't as successful as it should have been in the '90s. You know,
yeah.
but all right, is it my turn? Your turn?
I think you just did the last one there, right? No.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it's your turn.
So 5 years off, John does the Destination Anywhere, leads you to Crush, 2000. Which Crush is one of my favorite records from them. I think it has them clicking on all cylinders. So this is a little interesting. So of course it's My Life. Now say it isn't so. They spent a fortune on making that video, which was never put out as a single, never whatever. And then of course you have Thank You for Loving Me. I can't believe that this record that is chock full of amazing tunes only had two singles off it, especially with It's My Life being so huge. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about. Rock radio had changed so much in this that. It's My Life got 80, 90% of their plays on pop radio. That wasn't even necessarily played on rock radio. And so, the whole thing changed. Now, I could have picked 5, 6 different songs here for that. But one that's close to my heart is Just Older, and I think it could have been a huge single.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know what? There were so many working titles. The Sex Cells, Crush, um, but Just Older. I thought it would have been a perfect album title instead of Crush because you're looking at a band entering their third decade. A band that's established, settled, and Just Older could have been an album where they could have said, we're a band that's still here. We've gone through the '90s. We're starting a new decade. Um, we're older, but we still rock,
Well,
kind of
I
thing.
think they were looking at it through a different light. You know what I mean? With
Yeah,
having that in my life and that, you had nearly 40-year-olds selling to 14-year-olds, and it just doesn't happen in the pop world. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's why you see the haircuts and the whole whatever. I mean, they were all in, and that's where I think that record is just great.
It is, and that's the album that started it all for me. What album started it for you? Bounce, you said, or
I mean, well, Bounce was when we started the band. I mean, I had the first two and stuff, but I mean, I was there for Slippery and that. I mean, yeah, it was Slippery and Wet. I mean, Slippery and Wet was like, uh,
right?
I don't know what you could like the Big Bang. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that would have been it though.
yeah,
Yeah, it's Crush was what got me into them, and so like that whole entire, I remember It's My Life. I was 8 years old, May 2000, and every day I bugged my parents to get me the Crush album every day, and because it was going to be released in a few weeks, and so the day before release day, I asked all day. I was so annoying about it. I said, please let me get Crush. Please let me, Thankfully, my parents did get me, and I got the album. So, to cut a long story short, I listened to that album the entire summer, every day, all day. I drove my parents so nuts with it that they eventually got me the other Bon Jovi albums. But so I know this. I have a huge connection with this album. So this was hard for me to pick. I'm torn between Two Story Town or Next 100 Years. I kind of want to go with you on Just Older, just because I think it really told us where the band was at the time. But Two Story Town 100 Years are just, especially the next 100 years. Obviously, that would never make it on radio because the best part of the song is the outro with the keys and guitar. Um, yeah, those would have been my pick.
but I mean, even Captain Crash and Mystery Train.
Oh,
I mean, yeah,
I was listening to Mystery Train yesterday, and I thought myself the entire time, like how big of a gem this song is, and it didn't get as much. No, obviously that's not a statement, but just like in the fan base world, you don't hear that song praised enough as it should, or like Save the World. I Got the Girl. That's a fun one. Yeah, it's a great album. Even the out like I was listening to Neurotica. Was Neurotica a Crush or Bounce? I think that was Bounce actually. No,
uh,
that was Crash. That was Crash. Neurotica was Crash.
was it? Yeah.
I think so. I'll think about this when I fall asleep. So I know it was for Bounce, but all right. Next one is Bounce. So this was a weird one. So technically, the only singles. This, Every Day was definitely a single. Misunderstood and All About Loving You kind of was. Bounce was a radio single overseas. There was a physical release of it here and there, but so technically Every Day, Misunderstood, and All About Loving You. Um, my pick, this is my favorite one. Love Me Back to Life. I think it's a great ballad. I love Richie's talk box on it. I love the way that John kind of has that roller coaster vocally. Like he's up and down and he's kind of all over the place, bringing you into the song. If that makes sense. Um, I know it probably wouldn't have done very well on radio, but I would have picked that one to jump.
So yeah, 2002, 2 years after whatever. So we've had 9/11. This is a much darker record, darker content in that, and so you know, I was surprised. So it's my life. They did with Max Martin, who did all the Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, or whatever. But prolific pop songwriter. I'm amazed that they didn't go back to the well and look for It's My Life too and try to roll that with Bounce. But they must have thought with the climate change and the whatever in the world in that we're going to go with this darker sound or whatever. Interesting talk. Billy Falcon would come see our shows in Nashville, and he's a great guy. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but he wrote Bounce with those guys. But he always said to me, Bounce should have been the first single. We should have came out with Bounce and whatever. And I was supported that as well. I didn't pick Bounce, but to me, Uh, it's a great song. I think it's the greatest song or on the record is The Distance. I think The Distance is just an amazing song. And I think it actually fits into that time with the strings and whatnot. It's just got a punch to it, but it also, yeah, I think it's a good
Yeah,
song. I think it could have easily been a single.
I agree with you. I want to go back. I just want to talk about this because I think I actually had this chat with somebody yesterday because someone had mentioned, why do you think Every Day was a single instead of Undivided? Um, I think it's because, obviously 9/11 was in 2001. Bounce came in October 2002. So, 13 months later. I think Every Day was the right choice as a first single because if you were to put out Undivided out there, you're kind of still talking about that heartbreak of the tragedy, rightfully so. But also, I think you needed a song that says we're still here, we're still strong, and we're together in this. And I think that's why every day was the choice. But like Bounce would have also been a great choice with that too. And obviously, that song was kind of about Bill Belichick or something. I'm not a sports guy, but I know John was motivated to write Bounce by Bill Belichick or something like that. Um, but yeah, Bounce would have been a what's that?
And the Patriots, yeah.
Patriots, yeah. So his Patriots
On a
love
side note of
go
that,
back.
you see the horrible Aaron Hernandez Fox or FX series there that they did on him. It's the guy that does like American Horror Story and whatever in that.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
He was a football player for the Patriots that killed some people and whatever in that. But they had a scene in there where Bill Belichick is in his office with the doors all closed and he's cranking "It's My Life."
That's awesome.
Funny. It's funny. But yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we get into Have a Nice Day, and this is, so Balance unfortunately wasn't as big as Crush, and so 2 years later, well, they put out
So,
this last
yeah, I mean,
year.
it was disappointing to not have. It's Crush was that big introduction of back. Hey, we're back or whatever, and then
Yeah,
Bounce, and so on you go to Have a Nice Day, 2005. So Have a Nice Day comes out. One of the more brilliant marketing campaigns that the band has had through their career. That album cover that I still see people showing me their tattoos and whatever too. Brilliant. You put that on a shelf with everything else, it's going to stand out. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's brilliant marketing. It's a great song. Have a Nice Day brings on Shanks into the fold, and so we start to see him, whatever. But your singles, Have a Nice Day, Welcome to Wherever You Are, and then, of course, the big crossover that basically set their next 10 years up is Who Says You Can't Go Home? Rock Band has a #1 on the country charts and that, and they, here we go again,
you
Um,
know, what's funny about Who Says You Can't Go Home? So I was 13 when Have a Nice Day came out. And I remember I would go to school every day. I forget what grade, but I'd wear Bon Jovi shirts every day. My hair was a little longer and stuff, and I was like, you know what? I love my band. I lived in a country type area,
sure.
and so most people didn't listen to Bon Jovi. So I was made fun of for my love for Bon Jovi every day at school. And I remember Who Says You Can't Go Home came out, and it was on country radio, and I'd get on my school bus, and everybody would be singing along to it. And I'd get on that bus with my Bon Jovi shirt, puff my chest up, and say, "That's my fucking band right there." And so proud of them. And then, month later, everyone gets back to their normal selves. But yeah, I love the big crossover and the first #1 rock band that gets a country hit. Um, so what was your pick?
So I went with, again, Have a Nice Day, a very solid record. A lot of songs you could have picked from. That tour was just a fun tour, and they would play a bunch of that record. I mean, they really liked, the record, and you'd hear a bunch of those songs from the record live. This was one that I don't know if they played this live, but to me, I think it could have easily been a single. You talk about the talk box coming back or whatever. I Want to Be Loved is a very, very strong song. And you look at the placement on that record, they had it at song 2 there. Somebody at the label must have originally thought that, hey, we're probably going to go with this. But yeah, I mean, it was never released.
That is a gem. I love. I want to be loved. I'm kind. I picked a different one, but I'm kind of with you on that. I'd probably one of my top contenders That should have been a single. That's just looking at your past and not letting your bad past catch up with you and change the way you want your future to be, and to cry for help. I want to be loved. I want to be accepted for who I am, and it's such a
I
great song.
I remember when the record came out, Rolling Stone did its review of it or whatever, but they went into that song basically encompasses what this album is to them. You know what I mean? John is telling you, how he feels about them in the time being and
Yeah.
where they're at and whatever. And so yeah, I thought it was cool.
I've also wondered if that song was also about, and this could be a stretch, because of the way, Crush was, kind of like the roller coaster in America, with like 80s they were so big. Then the 90s they kind of peaked off of, and then Crush came in, they were big again. And then Bounce, they kind of faded away. This Left Feels Right faded away, you know. And I wonder if that was maybe like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like thorn in my side with it being about the rock hall, you know. I always kind of wondered if there was some influence on that as well, but that's just me thinking. My pick was Bells of Freedom. I think, like I said, I was 13 when this album came out, and so like, as a young teenager, you're kind of lost of who you are and who you want to be, and you kind of like Welcome to Wherever You Are, but like Bells of Freedom for me was about listening to the voice within yourself and believing in yourself and having that confidence. And I think a lot of people need songs like that.
Yeah.
And it really fits with the album theme as well.
But very strong record. You could tell that with them going through what they went through with Bounce and that it was like, we're really going to try and crank something out here, and they did.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, your turn. A Lost Highway.
Lost Highway 2007. So, as I hinted before, when you have a massive country splashover song crossover, you have a country esque rock record, of which it is Lost Highway. Singles, Make a Memory, Lost Highway, Till We Ain't Strangers Anymore, and then A Whole Lot of Leaving. The Whole Lot of Leaving is my favorite song off that whole record, and that, but was a single, and that this one I was a little torn on, and so I love Any Other Day, so I'd probably pick that. But if I'm being honest, I really think if had they released We Got It Going On as a single, it would have been huge. And now, hear me out. So John is doing the Soul now, the Philly Soul. He owns the Arena League team there. So he's doing all this promo with that. Well, the Arena League, when they would show it on TV, they would use We Got It Going On in promos and the whole whatever. And it was like, I just think it was a missed opportunity of, and like even live, we played that song the other day. I mean, that song works live.
Yeah.
And I think they missed out.
Did you see on the cruise? 'Cause I know you watched the show. The second night that John played, they opened up with "We Got It Going On," and I thought that was awesome. I thought it was a great in your face opening song of the show, and that was really awesome. Um, when they announced Lost, I remember John in an interview, late winter of 2007, John had said they were going to be doing a country album. And at the time, I wasn't much of a country fan. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be the very first Bon Jovi. I'm also 15 and dumb at the time. I'm like, great, this is going to be the one album I don't like. And it turns out Make a Memory is my favorite Bon Jovi song. Lost Highway is my favorite album. So when I first heard it, I fell in love with the album. And, hey, puppy, what's his name?
This is Elvis.
Oh, and so there's so many great songs on this album, but I'm with you. I would have picked We Got It Going On because it was that perfect rock and country
Really
combination.
missed out on an opportunity there.
Yeah, I think it would have been a really good. I would have put it as the third single, Memory. I'd if it was me, I would have put it above Lost Highway, but that's kind of like the leading track of the album. But yeah, We Got It Going On. I think that would have been, and Big and Rich, were they big at the time?
Yeah.
They were okay.
Post Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so that would have been a massive hit for both of them, especially because Bon Jovi's at the top, Big and Rich is at the top. That was a missed opportunity in my
yeah.
opinion. Um, so the next one is 2 years later, The Circle. This is their kind of, full circle back to the roots, back to the, rock, no pop, no, well, I think there's a little pop on it, which I love. But basically back to the rock album.
Yep.
A lot of great songs on this album. I had a tough, I sat here for a while thinking which one I wanted to do. I picked Love's the Only Rule. I think, the message in the song, especially that at the time, even now it's still relevant. What if we were more kind to each other? What if we were more accepting? What if we showed more kindness to each other? What if love was the only rule in the
But
world? The world would be a much better place. It's such a great positive message, and I think it would have went well on radio.
yeah, so yeah, follow Superman, When We Are Beautiful were the singles. I picked the same song, Larry. And here, take me back to 2009 or whatever. Imagine rolling the windows down. The song comes on the radio with that opening and this, that. It would have worked. I don't know why it wasn't single. And look, you know that the band thought a lot about it because they were closing the Circle shows some nights with Love's the Only Role and him
Yeah,
going off stage to it. We
yeah,
played it for a while there or whatever, but we've gotten to the point now where it's, 16 years later, and that not as many people know it or whatever. But great song, and
yeah.
absolutely should have been a single.
And I remember on the Circle tour, one of the great things about seeing that song, the nights that they didn't close with it, it was kind of in the middle of the set. John would walk through the pit,
Right,
singing with fans, the whoa, I
right,
can't sing as good as you. And then, John would get on that Circle stage, and then he would start, getting more energetic, and then they'd get into that final chorus, and he would just fly through that stage back to the main, and just such a great way of it live. Um, but so since we picked the same one, what else would you pick? What would be your second track?
oh man.
The circle is a big one. You really got to have a backup.
I think what else is on that record that I love. Let me pull it.
There's Follow, Beautiful, Work for the Working Man, Superman, Bullet, Thorn in My Side, Live Before You Die, Broken Promised Land. That'd be a close one. I might have picked that one. Um, Love's the Only Rule, Fast Cars, Happy Now, and Learn to Love.
Maybe Happy Now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah, that's did you ever see the Philly 2010? They opened up with that song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's an awesome video of it online. And it's really rich, the stage, they do their intro and then the stage is black, but then you can hear Richie on the talk box. And it's pretty because we're talking about these albums, like on Balance, you have talk box on Love Me Back to Life. I Want to Be Loved. We Got It Going. Was it we only got it going on?
Yep. Then
Yeah, yeah. And then you have it on Happy Now. And so they open up with, Happy Now. And I think it's a great opening song. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. The next one, you go first on this one.
So we are headed now to What About Now? So 4 years later, you got only really two singles. I would almost call one single, but because we
Yeah.
can, What About Now? It's not one of my favorite Bon Jovi records. Yeah, you could tell it's just a little disjointed. The influence of Richie, you could tell, is a little faded. It kind of seems like a John Shanks and John record, but and there's some of that was in the documentary in that.
Yep.
However, there is a song that I really love on there. That's What the Water Made Me. They would play on that tour. They opened up many of the shows with it or whatever. I just thought that's a Bon Jovi song. That is drives through or whatever. The harmonies on it are great, and yeah, so that's what I would go with.
That's a good choice. And like you said, they opened up with it on the tour, and I love the way that they would do the outro of the song, that 2 minute instrumental, and the way they would transition into Bad Name with it. Yeah, that'd be a close one that I would pick. I'm not 100% in my choice for this album, but I've always liked the album What About Now. I think it's a great album, but like for me, I think it was just kind of rushed. I think, like there's songs like Army of One, which is a good song, but I think it just feels like it's a demo more than it is the final version of a song. But there's still a lot of really good songs on this album.
The focus
Um,
not there as much as some of these other records, but yeah.
um, so my pick was Amen because we at the time we all thought that was good because John always has a favorite of each album, like the Circles and We're Beautiful,
Right.
and Amen was John's favorite, and so I
I
mean,
remember
he
they
even
did
played it,
Oprah and they played it on there and that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so he always loved to play it every night. He always praised the song, and I'm surprised they didn't make it a third. I don't know if What About maybe just because obviously the single What About Now really because we can, which is actually their anniversary was yesterday for that song. That was pretty good on the charts, but What About Now really didn't make a dent in anything. So maybe that was when there's like no more singles. This is, and also you're also thinking that Richie's departure. So
Correct.
I had heard rumors that they were supposed to be the tour was going to get extended to 2014, and then obviously Richie happened and the tour ended at the end of the year. So maybe that was why. Who knows what happened behind the scenes? But I honestly, What About Now? The single, I think I don't mean this. I I don't. I think it was probably the weakest single they've ever put out. Like I think the album should have been named
If
Because
I'm
We
being
Can.
honest, I mean, this is kind of like a John solo record. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a bad way because I love a bunch of his solo stuff as well. But the feel of this is very much a John record. You know.
Yeah, you know, I just think like the album should have been called because the tour is called Because We Can tour. I think if you had Because We Can, Amen, or That's What the Water Made Me, I think those have been three really good singles. But there's some really other good songs on there like Pictures of You, I'm With You, What's Left of Me, Thick as Thieves, which is my favorite on the album, Beautiful World. Yeah, and so then we go to 2000. So I this is kind of a outtake compilation to fulfill our record at the time, but we got to do our due
Polygram
diligence.
one more record, and so
Yep,
yes,
we got to do our due diligence and talk about that song because it's great. It's for the diehards. Burning
got
Bridges.
2015.
2015. So like John kind of he didn't do interviews. He just and the band put out two songs like a week before the album came out. They kind of just like randomly dropped. I remember like they tweeted or posted one
What
day that new
the album cover is?
yeah,
It's bare bones.
yeah. It was like new album coming out next week. Here's two new songs to preview the new album. They weren't technically singles. Saturday Night Gave Me Sunday Morning and Burning Bridges. Was it Burning Bridges? The other one? No, We Don't Run. We Don't Run was the other one. But they weren't really singles. They were just kind of here's a preview. And then the album came out and then you didn't hear anything about it ever again. Um, but I would probably this probably isn't radio friendly, but who cares? I would have picked We All Fall Down. I think it's a great message of that we all make mistakes. We all have our bad times, bad days, and it's kind of like a meaning of I know you're hurting, but I'm with you. We're gonna get through this. We all have our bad luck sometimes, and you'll get through it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's yours?
So I had as "We Don't Run" as the only official signal, and so I picked the other is Saturday Night Gave Me Sunday Morning. Yeah, you might have heard this. It's very similar to a Nickelback song around that time and whatever. But we worked it up. We were almost going to play it. We sound checked it a few times, and we never actually did play it live. But look, yes, we threw this in here, but I mean, it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of, just trying to get it together. And so, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a terrible song. I think, I think on radio it could have worked, you know what I mean? But again, this is satisfying contracts and whatever. And so in doing those, generally, that's not a huge, promotional push behind such.
Right. And it kind of makes you always wonder too, because like you always wonder, what if a band, like obviously Taylor Swift could do it because she's Taylor Swift, but like bands out there, like, no artist out there can just drop an album and then not promote it, not put a single out or anything like that. And so it's kind of interesting to see how Burning Bridges. And I remember the fan club was because we had the forums back then. What everyone was so excited about it. I mean, like it was a diehard fan album. We all loved it. But it's kind of unique just to kind of get an album dropped and then bands just kind of move on because like interviews, interviewers wanted to ask John about it, and John was like, "Well, let's talk about This House Is Not For Sale. That's the album that we're actually working on, and so forth." Which I guess we'll get into that. I think you get to introduce this one.
So yeah, a year later, how this house is not for sale. Richie out of the picture. Basically, again, Shanks and John putting together a bulk of the songs. Singles, so it was a little weird, So they did video, I believe, for every song on the record and that. But I have the singles as "This House Is Not For Sale," "Knockout," and "When We Are Us." Yeah.
Roller
And
Coaster.
again, yeah, maybe Roller
Yeah,
Coaster.
that one really didn't. Well, I'll get into that in a
Women for
second.
Us was on that deluxe version that came with them getting,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So
so
yeah, that was a single.
enough.
Yeah,
I love Roller Coaster off that. I think Roller Coaster is the best song off of it. Again, it was something that we've never worked up in that, but I'm a Richie guy. I'm a love Richie. And Phil is awesome, absolutely awesome. But I've always felt like even if you take a record like this and throw Richie's harmonies on some of those choruses or whatever, it's like
I know.
they just become bigger in that. And so, but yeah, Roller Coaster is mine. What about you?
Honestly, Roller Coasters, it's my top five favorite songs. Roller Coasters in that list. That song basically saved my life. Um, but since you picked that one, I'm gonna go with it. So this is technically not on the standard edition. It's on some international editions. Touch of Grey. I think maybe I'm looking at a radio perspective, but like the message of the song is that we all may be different, but we're all the same kind
Yep.
of thing. You know, you're not right or wrong, I'm not right or wrong. Let's listen to each other. And I think, not to get into politics here, that message still speaks true now.
Sure.
And I won't get into but I think that was really fitting for the time. And I would have picked that one. I think it's a beautiful song, and I love the message behind it. Um,
And also, yeah, I was going to throw this in there too. We didn't include this in this because it's not a proper record or whatever. But that box set, I think they missed out on a huge opportunity of picking 10 or 12 of those songs, and they could have made a really good record with a bunch of those songs that were just thrown on there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's
that's true.
a lot of great songs that, were just, throwaways on that. It could be my favorite Bon Jovi song is Miss 4th of July. I
Oh,
think amazing. And I think it would have been amazing on Keep the Faith, as well as, they could have put it on an album, years and years later after that. But yeah.
I agree. Every time I listen to that 2004 box set, I always think, how did these songs not make the album? Like, I was showing my wife earlier Out of Bounds, which I think was for Slippery. And she's like, I can see why I didn't make the album. I was like, get out of my Jeep. Get out. No, not really. But that song, like so you listen to songs like that, you're like, okay, I can see why I didn't make the album, but it's still a gem. But then you have songs like Starting All Over Again, Why Aren't You Dead? That should have made the album. Like that should Edge of a Broken Heart's on there. Real Life, which Real Life kind of wasn't really intended for any album. That was just for a movie. Um, but yeah, and I can't wait for us to get a new box set because I'd love to hear stuff that even from 2005 on that we haven't heard, especially from like the Circle.
Well,
The
that's the thing.
Circle,
John, their process to every record has always been, let's record, 25, 30, and, to get 10 or 12, and so,
yeah,
yeah. So, yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there that,
absolutely.
that we haven't heard.
One day we will.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so go ahead.
Yeah. We're to 2020, which of course came out in 2020.
2020. This was a weird, obviously, because of the pandemic,
Sure.
it was nice to have a new Bon Jovi album to look forward to. We got Limitless, well, American Reckoning, and Unbroken was the first one, but that was before they announced the album. But we knew a new album was
Yeah.
coming. Um, but my oh no, you get to go first.
Well, then you got Do What You Can in there too,
Oh,
and
that's right. Do
For
what you
Your
can.
Love. Again, this record's, but yeah, I mean, I think the obvious one is Beautiful Drug. They would play it live, and they did that little in the round in the studio there, and I
Yeah.
thought it had a good feel to it. To me, that's very a that is John in the 2020s, whatever that is, John now. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I went with Beautiful Drug. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, it's a fan favorite. And I remember John and his son Jesse, they were doing like a Hampton Water live or something. And I remember, I don't know if you've seen it, but John pretty much said, because this was kind of like the latter part of the album. And he said that we're thinking of putting out Beautiful Drug or Story of Love as the next single. Which one would you guys want? And they went with Story of Love, which Story of Love is great, but I would have picked Beautiful Drug over that any day. But it is what it is.
That heavy female bass. You got something that's a little more,
Yep.
balanced, whatever. It's going to win every time. So, yeah.
Yeah. And my favorite kind of Bon Jovi songs are ballads, and I'm still standing here saying
Gotcha.
beautiful drug. But like you're thinking of the time 2020 where everyone was kind of on one side or the other with regarding the pandemic and COVID and all that. But like beautiful drug was like, love is a beautiful drug. Love is what's gonna get us through this, blah blah blah. And I don't know. I thought would have been a great single, but mine was Shine. I picked Shine.
Yeah.
It's in my top five favorites.
Wow.
My wife's and I's wedding song.
Wow.
And I think for just as a Bon Jovi fan, um, I think it was Shine was one of those songs that proved that John could still write ballads and sing them and have that emotional connection between the listener and the band. I love Shine. I think it's one of the most beautiful songs John's ever written.
Yeah. Wow.
Uh, yeah.
Good stuff. All right.
So
So
now,
bringing
oh,
it home here.
what's that?
Bringing it home here
Yeah,
forever.
forever. So
What?
4 years later, we get another album.
Yeah.
Hard to believe that we can say that this album came out last year. Forever. So we got. So this was a. So we got.
So another interesting thing. I mean, I don't know what record I would go back to that saw John doing the type of promo that he did. I mean, he did. It's almost he did interviews up the wazoo. So legendary, your leadoff single. Now, some people would say Proof was one, but I don't know if I'd call it a single or not. It's certainly
Yeah.
get a proper video, only the lyric thing or whatever. And then later on, you had People's House. There's a lot I could say about this record. When I saw them do all that promo in the beginning, I was like, well, he's all in. We're gonna get 4, 5, 6 singles from this or whatever. And then, as you know, they had the thing and they debuted in the top five, and then it kind of went to obscurity from there. And hence the world that we live in. You know what I mean? I don't know. Rock radio is not going to play Bon Jovi in 2024. And so, you got to find like the album oriented or the adult contemporary and whatnot. Long story short, some still great tracks on this record. But mine and Beatles are my favorite band. There's one track on there that's got a heavy, heavy Beatles feel or whatever. And I think Seeds, it could be a great single, if not still. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I went with Seeds.
I'm kind of surprised that one wasn't a single. We're talking about singles for a second. I remember John had mentioned because at one of the listening parties, John mentioned that, and on it, obviously the band never posted, but other you saw fans and people. John had filmed a music video for "We Made It Look Easy," and then I remember John saying that was going to be the next single for the album. Then it never happened, and "People's House" came out a few months later. Um, so I think "We Made It Look Easy" would have been a really cool single. I mean, I can see why they didn't, but like you said, like when John was all in on doing all these interviews and promo, that was great. I thought, okay, we're gonna get more singles than what we did. But for me, my favorite on the album, Waves. I think it's just like if anybody came up to me and said, "Show me one song that's really good by Bon Jovi that's 40 years later," I'd show them Waves. That guitar intro, the drum build up, the lyrics, the vocals. I just love it. I think Jason Isbell co-wrote it.
Yeah,
Um,
the
you
guys,
know,
that's their favorite song off this new record. Yeah, Waves.
who's that?
The other guys in the band.
Yeah.
When we
Oh,
were
Waves.
in the car, yeah. Mhm.
Have you guys played any of the new stuff?
We do Legendary and we do Living Proof.
I think I've seen you guys do. I haven't seen. I have to look for Living Proof. I've seen you guys do Legendary. I think you posted that on your Facebook a while ago. But yeah, Forever's a great track. Um, I'm trying to think of the other ones just real quick. My first guitar probably wouldn't have been a good single, but it's one of my other favorites on there. What's your favorite on there? Just
It'd be Seeds too.
it
Yeah,
would be Seeds as
yeah.
well. Okay,
I like Living Proof. Living
yeah,
Proof again, giving you that talk box, taking you back a bit. Showing you
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I think the chorus is strong. I like that bridge. I mean, yeah, I mean, and that's where I don't know why they didn't go all in on a video and whatever for that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
they had a video in the can for it is Waves. They shot that on Jersey Beach there or Asbury Park or whatever. They've been sitting on that video for months now.
yeah. I don't think we're gonna
Well,
do.
uh, without diving too much into it, with documentary and whatnot, I think the hope was that they could actually tour behind this record and John would be able to, roll with it. And
Yeah,
then I think we would have seen, some more singles in that. And then with them not be able to promote it through that, way, then, I
yeah.
think.
But I don't want to say it on the podcast here. I heard there's some projects for Forever coming this. Or, I don't know. We'll see what comes.
Yeah.
There's it's such a great album that I think it needs promoted more, and it sucks because we never really got a tour um for it. And maybe they will. Because I'd love to see some of these songs live, like Walls of Jericho, which I think that'd be a strong contender to put out as a single as well. It's kind of like that because we can has that heavy drum intro and then the crowd and
And again,
um,
through their career, there's ones where they go all on it. This, Forever is one of those. John was swinging for the fences on this. Bringing in a bunch of outside writers. That had tons of hits. To try and really put out the best product that they could. And so
right.
you know,
So if rumors are true that I've heard, which I won't share because they're rumors, maybe we will see more of Forever this year. Who knows? But anyway, stay on. I want to chat for a couple minutes. But this was fun. I'm glad you kind of brought this idea up because it made me really,
no problem.
of course, my interest could change next week. But this was a lot of fun. I
Well,
enjoyed it.
you tell your followers and listeners and whatever in the comments or whatever list yours. What do you got?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What did we miss?
Well, you're not on Twitter, and you should be. I always post Bon Jovi stuff on Twitter, and I actually did kind of because it made me think, and I want to see what other people's thoughts were. I did make a post. What song do you think should have been a single that wasn't? And there was a lot of interesting choices and stuff, and
Sure.
a lot of commonalities, because you have all the diehards posting. Um, yeah, so that was pretty cool. But before I end the recording, tell people a little bit about your tribute band, where they can find you and stuff like that.
And yeah, we're slippery and wet. We're going into our 22nd year here. We've played over 2,100 shows around the world. We did both of the Runaway to Paradise cruises with John and that. And so we've done our thing. So yeah, I mean, we just added full video production to the full show. So I mean, there's video content to every song that we do in the set. And yeah, we got plans to get around to all different reaches of the states and beyond. And so we've loved the support that we've had over the years. Bon Jovi's fan base is a very loyal and active and just a great group of people that passionately love these songs. And so we're I'm honored to, be somewhat of a part of the family, and to be able to, go out and do that, and get the show that I so much believe in, out to the people. So yeah.
And I'll say it again. I've seen your show a few times now, and even just videos online. You guys are truly, and I'm not saying this because you're on the podcast. You guys are truly the greatest tribute band because you guys have that energy and that charisma and the way you guys pull fans. Like I said, on the cruise, you guys were doing deep tracks, and there was not a single person on that cruise ship that was not singing along or dancing along. So if for people that are listening, you guys, even if you can't make it out to a show, go to YouTube, watch some performances, follow Jason on Facebook, and I'll say that to my dying day, check out The Lovesick. It is some great albums. Best song is Shook. Trust me, for people that haven't listened to The Lovesick, go to YouTube right now, search The Lovesick. Thank me later.
I
Great
appreciate it.
stuff.
Thank you.
So, all right, Jason, stay on real quick. I'm going to end the recording. Thank you again for the idea and coming on. And we're over an hour here, so it was great. Thanks.
Good stuff.